there's no question Twitter, Facebook and the other social media platforms should be doing more.
These companies have got to get on board. They've worked on child pornography. They worked on human trafficking. We've done stuff with money laundering. This is not an insurmountable problem.
Okay, so here's the problem right now. You've got social media outlets that are effectively serving as conduits for terror activity. Terrorists, ISIS terrorists, are meeting on Facebook. They're meeting on Twitter. They're recruiting online. In fact, we've got reports, a recent one that came out, that suggests 300 Americans have been recruited online just this year in the social media community. All right, so Mark Zuckerberg finally decides to come out and say something about recent events, but he doesn't say anything about how he's going to fight this or how he's going to try and improve the situation so you don't have ISIS people gathering online. Instead, he comes out in defense of Muslims. He says, if you're a Muslim in this community, as the leader of Facebook, I want you to know you're always welcome here and that we will fight to protect your rights and create a peaceful and safe environment for you. Okay, that's good and everything, right? We want the First Amendment, and as a Muslim, you want to feel safe on Facebook. But I just wonder why it is that Mark Zuckerberg still hasn't said anything about what he is going to do, how he is going to help the government in its fight and protect all Americans right now from the serious threat that's out there. I mean, we are living in a very different day and age. Social media is very much a part of it, and these members of ISIS are meeting online on places like Facebook. With more on the subject, we've got Herb Lynn, the senior research scholar for cyber policy and security at Stanford University, as well as Zuhdi Jasser, who's back with us. You know, and Dr. Jasser, I know your organization, American Islamic Forum for Democracy, is actually getting attacked by Muslim care-like groups who are saying that you're actually promoting hate. You're being ridiculed, and there's a lot of anger coming at you from these groups. Can you tell us about it online?
And listen, Trish, I mean, if it was just Muslim groups, we can take it. We're reformists and we're used to it. But this is even a group called Hope Not Hate, a government-funded group in Britain which is part of what we would call, and what Maajid Nawaz has called, the regressive left. They labeled our group as a hate group. They're similar to the American Southern Poverty Law Center, and they claim to be originally started by the government funding in London, in Britain, to counter the English Defence League, which may have some fascist hate tendencies, but they've broadened to include work with the Islamic Society of Britain and others. And this is the underbelly. When people wonder where are the voices of reform, the underbelly is the cooperation of the left with Islamist groups, where they're listing me as anti-Muslim, and Tawfiq Hamid, who's a Quranic scholar in our reformists, was listed as an anti-Muslim hater. They make no,
so here
it's
you
no
are,
different,
Zuhdi.
Trish.
You're trying to elevate the conversation and say, listen, guys, you know, we need to change the message that we're sending out there, and they're saying that you're a Muslim hater because of that.
And that's the craziness of it. Actually, to me, that is bigotry. That is bigotry against Muslims, that somehow we can't have a debate within the Muslim community, and they start acting like Saudi Arabia, where our allies who are actually asking critical questions for reform end up getting flogged. What this group called Hope Not Hate, which should actually be called Hate Not Hope, has done is exactly what Saudi Arabia and Iran does to reformists. They put them in prison, they whip them, and I am being labeled, by being labeled non-Muslim or a Muslim hater, it's like saying that I'm a apostate, which is absurd. My kids love our faith. We're trying to reform it from a position of tough love, but these individuals are working as tools of the Islamist lobby in the West in order to suppress blasphemy law, in order to push blasphemy laws and prevent the critical dialogue we need to have for national security.
Dr. Jasser, how do you confront this? I mean, on a daily basis, you're out there, you're on this show, you're on other programs, talking about the need for reform, and at the same time, online, you're getting a lot of pushback from government-funded organizations in the UK, a care-like organization. You're getting pushback. How do you keep it going in the face of all this?
This is why we need the platforms. We're going to keep moving forward, because as the sunlight gets shed on these toxic ideas, they will melt away. And the alliances between theocrats and the left and others who really don't want to reform and protect freedom, they just want to continue to maintain power. That's why we need people like Mr. Zuckerberg and the owners of Twitter and others to begin to empower warriors for freedom like us and give us platforms and take sides and not just give these platitudes and bromides. Oh, we're with you, we want to protect Muslims. help us have a debate within the Muslim community about theocratic ideas that are the root cause of radicalization. Until they do that, they're all part of the problem and helping aid the King of Saudi Arabia, the head of Iran, and others who are basically promulgating an anti-Western, anti-Semitic ideology.
Herb Lynn joining us as well, social media expert. And Herb, what does your analysis tell you about the growth of ISIS online and the need for the online community to police this better, people like Mark Zuckerberg?
It's certainly been true that the Islamic State has gotten a lot of attention through online media. And could the social media companies be doing more? Sure. And the question is, how much more should they be doing? In the extreme case, they could all shut themselves down. And nobody's advocating that, but that would clearly stop the Islamic State from using
I mean, I think that people feel like they need to be reporting this stuff a little bit more. I mean, we had a woman on the show the other day, Jan Morgan, who was blocked from Facebook because she had said some things that were, in Facebook's view, politically incorrect. She actually posted a clip from this show saying that she didn't want Syrian refugees coming into the States because she was fearful of the refugee population. Well, what do you know? She got blocked, Herb. And one of her points was, why am I getting blocked when there are actual terrorists out there that are talking online and meeting online? I mean, shouldn't Facebook be doing more on that front?
You have identified the fundamental problem. Who decides what's bad content? Okay, and why do you think that Facebook can identify, quote, bad content any better than anybody else?
Well,
we need to have.
Go ahead. You can answer that.
We need to have a free speech. We don't want them policing what's out there unless they're advocating direct acts of violence. However, they need to be in the playing field. These are the best resource companies in the world, and yet they're sitting it out and letting the resources of oil money that is coming from ISIS and others dominate this. We have warriors ready to debate the
rhetoric. Don't just give me rhetoric. Tell me what you think that they would be doing. What would they be putting their money into? You say they have all these resources. What would they be putting their money into? How should they identify, quote, bad content? I'll give you a personal example.
We have 15 organizations that signed a proclamation for reform.
Let Dr. Jasser answer that. Go ahead, Zuhdi.
We have 15 organizations that signed a proclamation for reform. Our budgets are 0.01% of the budgets of the Islamist organizations in the West. All these foundations need to do that supposedly are trying to protect freedom of speech is to start to create task forces that empower the ideas of anti-theocracy and liberty rather than sitting on their hands and doing these bromides. I mean, there are things they can do. Google Ideas, Twitter, Facebook has foundations that can begin to protect these things and let Muslims lead it so it doesn't appear to be anti-Muslim.
Don't they have a responsibility in all this? And you talk about, freedom of speech. Yes, we're all for that. That's a big part of what all of us believe in as Americans. But at the same time, if you have an opportunity to gather some of this intelligence and relate it back to the government and aid the government in trying to keep Americans safe, shouldn't Facebook be devoting some resources towards that, Herb?
I think they are devoting resources towards it. They do report terrorist content when they find it.
Why don't they even tell us? Why don't Mark Zuckerberg come out and tell us that? Why do you have to come out and sound so politically correct? Is the first thing he said.
You don't define terrorist content the same way they do. Okay.
It's not about terrorist content.
Right.
Before they're terrorists, they're radicalized in the ideology.
We've got some breaking news we've got to get to. Thank you, gentlemen. Good to have you here.